Well, we're coming off of another Browns loss, back to regularly scheduled programming, I suppose. But there's still lots to talk about. Who belongs in the doghouse? There's plenty. What about moving forward with Shedeur Sanders? The good, the bad. We're going to investigate that in detail. Possible coaching changes coming up. Who knows? Also, fantasy football playoffs. I got the waiver ads you need. Let's get to the show.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara, the sickest Cleveland Browns podcast.
Chubb runs, he's to the 10, 15, he's to the 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. There goes Chubb, he's to the 30, 20, 10, 5, touchdown, Chubb Hub.
It's gonna be sick.
Welcome, everybody. Yeah, another Browns loss, right? Again, another one there for the taking. Self-inflicted wounds. We'll get to all that, but make sure you are clicking subscribe, notifications on. Do it. Jump in the chat. Remember, we're live every Sunday, 10 a.m. Eastern, and you get your fantasy football questions in, whether it's in the chat, on social, on X, at AndyMC1, at SickPodBrowns. Follow there. Use hashtag AskAndy. Get those fantasy football questions in, as well as on TikTok and Instagram, at AndyMC Sports. That's where you can find my post-game reaction videos. Sometimes happy, usually frustrating, such as, how does Bubba Vitrone still have a job? I don't know. Boy, seems like the place to work is for the Haslam family now on the football side. Don't get fired. To do a terrible job for multiple games, multiple years, don't get fired. Great. There's no consequence. My takeaway from that game in San Francisco, 26-8 loss, is just you got to wipe this thing out. You just got to. I don't care how Shedeur looks, really, unless he runs the table, which, I'm not putting anything on Shedeur, and we'll too much on Shedeur, and we'll get to the good and the bad in a few moments. But, guys, what are we doing? Right? It's 6 years. Run its course. DePodesta is gone. This is the perfect time. Clean the slate. Stefanski and Barry, they'll be fine. They got their money. They'll be okay, right? But you got to clean house. All right, let's take a quick look at who deserves a trip to the doghouse and maybe some dog bones after that game. Dog bone list pretty short. I'm going to give Shedeur one. Shedeur Sanders. Now, missed that gorgeous throw to Jerry Jeudy. Just missed it. It's going to happen. Didn't turn the ball over. One touchdown. Still shows more upside than Dylan Gabriel. I'd keep going with him. Sounds like the team is going to do that the same. Quinshon Judkins ran solid average 4 yards per carry. That's good. Other than that, man, Fannin had a touchdown, but then blew the fourth down snap. Weird play call. You won't give him a bone. We won't put him in the doghouse. Who does belong in the doghouse? Okay. Myles Garrett, by the way, 19 total sacks. One closer to the all-time record. Come on, Myles. 20, 21, 22, 20. We need four sacks. 4 sacks. Come on. You can do it against Tennessee. In the doghouse is pretty much everybody else. Kevin Stefanski, Bubba Vitrone leading the way. Terrible coaching calls. Terrible coaching practice. Gage Lavardane should never field a punt again in his life. Great story. Sometimes you get shown why a guy's an undrafted free agent. One game, but unacceptable. Bubba, you should have been out at the beginning of the year. You're definitely out now. Stefanski, come on. What are we doing with these play calls? Right? It's ridiculous. I like to go for too aggressive, and then you come back. And there's no accountability for these penalties, guys. It's been 6 years of the same stupid illegal shifts. Guys out of position. That's coaching. Unacceptable. All doghouse. All doghouse. Jerry Jeudy for freaking out at Shedeur Sanders on the sideline. Jerry, you've dropped almost every ball that you've got thrown to you this year. You got no reason to freak out. Unacceptable. All right. I want to put that game out of my mind because you had that game in the bag. You had that. That was another game where you lost it yourself. You lost it yourself. With stupid fourth down calls, ill-advised penalties all over the place. You had it. You let it slip away. Any chance at a magical late run? Gone. 3-9. Okay. Give me Fernando Mendoza, please. I'm more interested in watching the Indiana-Ohio State game to see how that looks and start scouting some draft picks there. I'll tell you that. All right, 26-8, on to the Titans. We're going to have a big show Sunday. Tee up the Titans-Browns game. I still want to win. And that could actually be a pretty interesting game. So we're going to have a fun show Sunday. But let's bring in, and we're going to deep dive, and I always love it. And one of my most popular guests, because of the deep dive that we get to do, is Coach Lance Reisland from 97.3 The Fan in Cleveland, from Cleveland.com, longtime high school football coach in the Cleveland area. Lance, welcome back, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Well, I'd love to have you, buddy. And look, everyone I talk to say, hey, when are you having Lance on next? They love the in-depth game stuff and really where we can dive in. And at this point in the season, I think for Shedeur Sanders, it's like, all right, you know what? We're going to get a bit of an extended stretch. Let's see some of the good and the bad, but just your overall takeaways through seeing Shedeur in 2 full starts.
Well, the first start, I thought it was very impactful. And a lot of times that's the non-measurable, that's the non-stat related. That's just the kind of the impact you have on teammates and coordinators and quarterbacks. That's kind of what you sign up for. You get too much credit, too much blame. So he had tremendous impact that first game. I also thought he made some big throws. The second game, I thought he was less impactful. I still think he did some good things, but he was very late. As I break down the film, and I just got done before we got on kind of breaking down the entire game, Shedeur is very late on a lot of stuff, and a lot of stuff that he's late on is due to his footwork. And I have a couple examples of why he's late, because if your footwork doesn't marry the timing of the route, you're not ready to throw. And the things he's struggling with are fixable. The things he's struggling with hopefully will get better, or they won't. But that's what you assume. The things that he's doing poorly are reps, I believe, in game reps. And he's got to have game reps because it's hard to simulate. Now, once again, I am not an anti-Dylan fan. I think Dylan, once again, what we're seeing too is that even if people believe in Dylan or believe in Shedeur, weather, teammates, play calling, all the things that kind of were around for Dylan are still going to be around for Shedeur. And that makes it very tough to evaluate a quarterback, no matter who you like, because it's hard to see the timing if there's pressure and all those kind of things. Now, I thought they ran the ball a little bit better. Junkins has been a really good, the rookie class has been outstanding. But to give the evaluation, for me, the ups and downs will be fine. I just thought he was really impactful to his teammates in the first start. I did not think that so much in the second start. They were all kind of flat.
And just some updates too. Jack Conklin in concussion protocol, cannot stay on the field. His last year in Cleveland, so disappointing. Malik Collins looks like he's out for the year with that quad injury, also disappointing. And Lance, it's a case where we talk about the quarterbacks and the success or not. Pretty difficult to do when you're without your 2 starting tackles and you got injuries up and down that offensive line, different combinations, penalties being thrown at you. And then you're just kind of chucked in there and hoping for the best. That all goes into it, right?
Yeah, for both guys, and Shedeur is feeling that now. When you think about now he's done his part too, and even though I like Dylan, I liked him coming out of the draft. Dylan wasn't impactful, and Dylan struggled a little bit, and that's just is what it is. And even though I like Dylan, I had Shedeur picked earlier in the draft, so it's just kind of watching what I see on film, and they're running into first of all on their team, the pass protection has been terrible. They lack playmakers on the outside. Jerry Jeudy has been very, very poor. David Njoku has struggled this year, and I think he's outstanding. And that knee is really bothering him because he's always a guy. I get to watch him every practice. He's a hardworking guy, so something's going on with that knee, in my opinion. And then you have, like I said, the drops and the inconsistent run game. And then the non-measurables, right? The wind, the weather, the rain, the snow, the cold. Those all tie into it. And whether we like that or not, and obviously the elite quarterbacks fight through that, but these guys aren't elite yet. It doesn't mean they can't be. It just makes the evaluation a lot harder when the pieces are around. I'm a big believer in there's quarterbacks you win with. That's most of them. There's only a few guys out there you win because of. And who knows if these guys will ever be that. But they are. I think both guys are guys you can win with if you have a good supporting cast.
Yep, and some consistency. So let's take a look at the good and the bad with Shedeur Sanders. Let's start with the bad, producer Shane. Start at the top. You break this down and make sure you follow Lance on all socials. Does a tremendous job doing that. Let's pull that first one up under the bad category, Shane, and let's take us through this, Lance.
Well, you're going to see the spacing. He sees it. He just doesn't pull the trigger. So you're going to see Judy sitting in that window, and he just doesn't pull the trigger. I think he sees the flat defender there. Now, as a quarterback, obviously not standing in a pocket like this, but what you get as the play runs again, you're going to see the corner, and the corner's eyes are kind of in between. He's kind of in between both guys. And what ends up happening is that the corner and the flat defender, you're unsure because it's the NFL speed. Can those guys get over? So, again, that to me is game reps. His inability to pull the trigger. He had a lot of those in this game where he's unable to pull the trigger for some reason. But it's not like because he's, didn't see it or anything. It's indecisiveness. It's What am I seeing? Do I believe what I see or do I not? And that happens with a lot of rookie quarterbacks, and a lot of rookie quarterbacks, who haven't done a lot of this in terms of multiple progression reads, things of that nature. So I just think it's indecisiveness. He's not believing what he's seeing right now. And you saw a lot of that in this game where, everybody's talking about the handcuffs and there have been some questionable calls, but for he and Dylan, because I don't want to let Dylan off the hook, the explosive plays have been there. The explosive plays are always within the play. This game for Shedeur and multiple games for Dylan, they're just not stretching the field and they're not seeing those opening lanes. So just an idea, just the inability to see what you're seeing there because of the corner and the flat defender there.
And in that play, you saw if you did have that confidence and made the decision, you zip that in. That's a big chunk play. But in the NFL, it's a game of seconds and sometimes half seconds. If you hesitate, I like that. Oh, do I? It's over.
Yeah, if you throw, the thing about the NFL, even at the college level, that's why these guys, it takes a little bit of time. If you see a guy open, he's covered. You have to throw him open. You have to anticipate where the window, that comes down to, do you understand the coverage? Do you understand where your receiver is going to be? When people talk about like he has a good connection with Larvidan, the reason he has a pretty good connection with Larvidan is because he understands where Larvidan's going to be against certain coverages. And that's where they talk about game reps. He's worked with him all camp. So that right there just doesn't pull the trigger if for whatever reason. And that's open. In the NFL, that's wide open.
Let's look at the second one here. The bad for Shedeur here. Producer Shane, if you can pop that up. Here's another one.
Well, what you get here is, so everybody talks about this is the miss to Judy. And as this play runs a couple times, I want you to see, obviously, this is what Shedeur does. He usually makes plays down the field. But as the play runs again, you're going to see where he misses him. And this is why he misses him. Watch his feet, and then he moves to his right. And as you move to your right, he loses balance. He loses where he's supposed to be, and he's not ready to throw. So as the play runs again, you're going to see where he should hit Jerry Jeudy. As Fannin clears, the man coverage and the free safety deep on the helmet will jump Fannin. Where he has to deliver the ball is right in that second window, which I have highlighted because that's where the opening is. And then you see the check down over to Judkins. So again, it's just the inability to be consistent with your steps. You're going to see him kind of move to his right there's no reason. You can see where the window is right there. So that should be a completion. That's just a sight adjustment. So he misses, even though it's a miss downfield, what it really is, it's a miss in the opening window. As you can see him and Fannin kind of running next to each other. That's because that's just like a scramble drill. That ball should have been thrown early. The reason it wasn't thrown early is because his feet don't marry with the route. His feet don't marry with when he needs to deliver the ball. Again, those are game reps. As quarterbacks, we all go back to our bad habits under pressure, and you have to continuously work on those things. And once again, I will say this about both kids, and whether you like them or not, they're great kids, and they both work really, really hard. So you to assume he'll get better at those things.
Let's look at the third one for Shedeur here. Let's pop that up. So we're talking footwork, miss. Now what do we got?
So you're going to see here, just doesn't see the flat defender. This is a simple, we call this a swing stick combination, and you're reading the flat defender. So this is interception against the Raiders. You're going to see he doesn't see the flat defender. I think because it's on a line of scrimmage. That's an easy read. He drops right to the swing. And those are again, I think it's because of the speed of the game. I think it's because the guy was on a line of scrimmage. But the thing that tells you is that, in the game of football, safeties never lie. Corners can lie to you. Safeties never lie. So as he gets more comfortable in the pocket, he'll understand that safety, that was a soft coverage that should have told him that that backer was dropping in the flat there. There was no one else left. So those simple things he's just not seeing. So he's not seeing a few things, and then he's late with everything. It has to do because he's not seeing it, and his footwork from his days at Colorado is often very poor, which causes him to be late.
Side note, I also loved that combination of white helmet, white jersey, orange pants. I thought that was gorgeous.
It's a great
look. Like it?
Yeah, I love the white helmet. I think the white helmet should be the primary. I love the white helmet.
Totally with you. I thought it was a super clean look. Okay, one more bad, then we'll get to the good for Shedeur. Let's pull this one more bad up. Okay.
So you're going to see here. So once again, so now this is the idea of we're going to take a shot. This is his first start. This is like the first drive. He just takes a shot over Tillman. But I want to see the David Njoku, who's a great run after catch guy, gets a chip and then he releases. And you're going to see. So as a quarterback, everybody wants the quarterback to stretch the ball downfield. And I completely agree with that. And that's one thing that Dylan really struggled with. And if you don't get chunk plays in the NFL, it's hard to go 10, 12, 15 plays consistently with the speed of the defense. But what you have to do is you can never, as my dad always told me, never pass up a free meal. And when you get the ball to Njoku and there's 10 yards in front of the next guy, he's a really hard guy to tackle. He's proven that over his career. So all of a sudden now, regardless of down and distance, you've given yourself a better advantage. Even if it's third down and long, now you've put your punter in a better position. Now you can flip the field. Those easy completions, not only for first downs, but for your punt team, for coverage, for your defense, possible turnover because you down the ball inside the 5. That complementary football, that's why he's got to take those checkdowns. So even though I love the fact that he's a gunslinger and gets the ball downfield, that's a learning phase. That wasn't there. It was third and long. Just check it down. Your best option, maybe Njoku picks up the first down with run after catch.
Absolutely. And it comes to, like you said, with reps. And what made Tom Brady so great was he knew where the receiver was going to be. And if you weren't there, you're going to hear about it. But he knew, I throw to this spot, this guy's going to be here. That comes with reps. It comes with comfortability. It comes with all of that going through it. And that's just not where Shedeur Sanders is at right now, or Dylan Gabriel or anybody else. But that's what's frustrating, I think, to fans, Lance, where we're seeing that. It's like, well, he was wide open. Well, he's going through his progressions and things are moving so fast. Yep. He just kind of goes with it, or his feet aren't set, right?
Well, and another thing is too, they don't have a get out of jail free card. It's always nice. It's always nice as an offensive coordinator, even at the high school level. And I did it for, over 2 decades. And I always on that card, all of us offensive coordinators call, we have touches. And once in a while, the other team is better, but you have a player that's better. You have a Chase. You have a guy who can just win, Jefferson, and you just throw it up to him. And what it does as a quarterback, it creates confidence. So as you're learning these things, it's nice to have a guy who gets you out of jail free. You don't go through a lot. You throw it outside the numbers. You stay away from the safeties, and you just say, my guy's better than your guy, and we're going to live to fight another day. That's what also the Browns don't have. So as these quarterbacks are learning, they don't have anybody helping them out on the outside in terms of run after catch and going to win a 50-50 ball, even if it's a bad throw into coverage. You got to have those guys that can just win. Because really in the game, at all levels of football, you win with players. You don't win with scheme.
Yep. Okay, so that was the bad over Shedeur's first 2 starts. Let's look at 3 good plays and what should be encouraging to fans. Let's play number 1 there, Shane.
Well, he does a really nice job. So you're going to see what he does a nice job of getting his feet around, setting his hips, and just putting the ball. And what he does with Fannin, you saw it with Sampson. He throws a really catchable football. And when you throw a really catchable football, and when somebody says, I was asked today in a chat, Coach, what's a catchable football? What does it mean to be receiver friendly or quarterback friendly? This is an example of it where you throw the ball and the guy who catches it doesn't have to do a lot. The ball kind of hits him where he's comfortable. Some guys like it out in front. Some guys like it left, right. Shedeur throws a very, very accurate catchable football, which allows, and if you look at, one of the things I will say is that, the people either love or hate Shedeur no matter what he does. But I will say this, the swing pass he threw for Sampson for a touchdown. The check down, that was an easy throw right there. The swing pass is not an easy throw. And part of the reason Sampson had such a big run after catch is because he caught it in stride and got to get from 0 to 100 really quick. So the thing that Shedeur showed me right there is his ability to get his hips around. He knows that defensive end is unblocked. He's going to get chipped and then to the flat, but throwing a catchable ball so his receivers can catch and run with it. And then all of a sudden you threw it 5 yards and you got a 15-yard play. But that's part of it too. You take the good with the bad, but throwing a catchable football where your receivers can run with it is very important.
And we saw it there again too. Side note on Harold Fannin Jr. What an absolute bulldog. Like him and Quinshon Judkins, like Lance, they just don't quit. He gets the ball. He is getting you 5 extra. And he's got 3 guys on him. He is an absolute stud. And I think a real building block for this team, no matter what happens with David Njoku. Like that's just the effort that you don't have to be vocal. People just see that. It's like, man, that's motivating. That's inspiring to teammates, I'm sure.
Yeah, and that's what I saw against Texas A&M and against Penn State. And you and I talked about when the draft process was happening. Yeah. People had some, and rightfully so sometimes. But I will say this: the man, when people say, "Well, he played at a lower level, he played at a Group of 5," usually what that means, playing at a Group of 5 school myself at Kent State, usually the starters and the first level guys, there's not a huge difference, right? There's some alphas at Ohio State and things like, there's some Jeremy Smith that no one has, but for the most part, the top level guys at all these places, especially when they grow into their, he's a guy at Camp McKinley. He was a receiver, grew into his body, but you watch him against Texas A&M, you watch him against Penn State, he dominates those 2 games. I thought it was a steal of the draft. And once again, though, it tells you how much we don't know, because I didn't have Schlesinger, and Schlesinger's been even better in my opinion.
Yeah, unreal. Defensive rookie player of the year, just amazing. Let's look at the second Shedeur highlight there of the good of Shedeur Sanders.
Well, what you get here, this is outstanding here, because what he does is he buys time. Now, everybody talks about the throw. Everybody talks about how Bond got open, things like that. But here's what I like. He knows where the extra guy is coming from. And as a quarterback, when you know where the 5th or 6th blitzer is coming from, and you know who's going to be unblocked because you know the blocking scheme, that's crucial. I will tell you, as a guy who tried to do that well as a quarterback, that's really super impressive. Because what that lets you do is that you can beat a guy if you know where he's coming from. So not only did he make a great throw and all that kind of stuff, that's the stuff he normally does, but you're going to see him scramble immediately because he knows where the extra hat's coming from. And that tells you he watches film. That tells you he understands the offense. And those are the kind of plays he makes when you watch on film. Now, the things those things, I would say this with Shedeur. The things that he's really struggling with can be coached. The things that he's really good at sometimes are hard to coach. He's a gamer. And that term gamer means that's a gamer play. That's just a levels concept. He takes a shot to his fastest guy. But the impressive part of that wasn't the throw, even though that was outstanding. It's that he understood where the pressure was coming from and how to get away from it.
I like that inside part. Yeah, we take a look and are just wowed. And that video highlight of Myles Garrett being like, whoa, just amazed by, as we were finally utilizing the speed of Isaiah Bond. But you're right. It's, where that comes from. And that kind of dispels, at least currently, what we heard earlier in the year from like a Rex Ryan saying, oh, he's not at the front of the class, not paying attention. Well, it looks like he's paying attention, and that's a good thing. Let's take a look at the last highlight here from Shedeur Sanders, the good.
We're going to see here, this is a post wheel. So good to read here. You're going to see the corner. I'm going to point out the corner and the safety. That's where his eyes have to be. As he sees the corner safety go, he knows Fannon's open on the wheel. This is cover 4. Cover 4, it just simply means each defensive back has 1/4 or a quarter of the field behind them. They're in charge of not letting anything get behind them. That corner who was in charge of that quarter of the field, he stayed with Judy. So Judy ran to the safety's corner part of the field. So now you had 2 defenders in just one area, and then obviously you see Fannin is where replaces the corner for an easy touchdown. Now, the good thing about that is that he had his eyes in the right place. He understood it was cover 4, because as the play goes back and you watch it on the all 22, which I like to watch, they try to hide. Robert Saleh does a great job of giving you pre-snap to post-snap differences. So pre-snap, he showed a cover 3 or a 1 high hat, which told you that the middle guy would, that the post would probably come over, or that bang 8, we like to call it. But when they go cover 4 and the safety and the corner both run with Judy, it tells you immediately that Fannon's going to be open. But more importantly, he steps up and has really good footwork. So just a really good play by him. You see all the goods with the bads. I will say this in this game, the thing that was, I would say disappointed, the thing he struggled with the most, he was just late. He was late all day, and you're not sure if that's reps. No, and once again, the rep thing is overrated. I think he'll tell you that. This is a high-level processing kid. He's been around football his whole life. He's just late with stuff. Has nothing to do with his reps. That's important. But there's a lot of guys coming in the NFL who don't get reps. I've watched 5 years of practice every day, and there's sometimes those guys don't get a rep, and then they're called on. So I just think that he'll get better and better with it. I think the things that he can fix are very fixable. The things that you can't teach, he does very well. Right. We'll see, that's what we're all waiting for. That's the difference. That's why the quarterback position is so hard to evaluate. Can he make those improvements moving forward? I think he can. I think he and Dylan are a good foundation for this quarterback room. Whether you like, some people, it's not about Dylan. It's not about Shedeur. It's about finding a quarterback that can be, can get you wins. And right now, with the talent around him, these are not guys you can win because of. They need help.
Yeah. And I loved that last play to Harold Fannin Jr. Shedeur stepping up in the pocket, right? And he did take a run back sack one time as well in that game, those bad habits where he runs backwards and gets caught. But there, shuffled, stepped up, planted the feet. So we know the footwork can be done properly. It's just the consistency. Like you said, you go back to bad habits. Lance, do you think that there's anything that Shedeur Sanders, and at this point, let's assume Dylan's had his run, can do to stave off the Browns taking a quarterback in the first round? Because if you do, you take a second round guy, third round, then it's just another, backup potentially. But a first round guy or using extra ammo to move up, anything that Shedeur Sanders can do over this last stretch of games?
Well, obviously he can be on time and he can control what he can control, right? So he's missing things on his own. But I'll tell you what, Andy, it's going to be hard because of the talent around him. And the evaluation process is going to have to be done based on his footwork. And have you seen his footwork improve? Is he going to the right spot? Does he understand? And it's not about good throws or bad throws. It's does he understand the coverage? Does he understand the front? Like of all those plays, it's not the throw there's two things that impressed me about his really good plays in those clips we watched. One is he understood where the blitz was going to Bond. And the other one was that I didn't really talk about was the wheel route to Fannin. He choked it down and made Fannin slow down because he didn't want the corner to come back over and make a play. Those are the type of knowledge plays that kind of get you excited. However, are those things he's seeing or are those things he has no idea about? Those are things we don't know. We're not in the film room. I would assume he knows those things. He's a very smart kid. He says all the right things. Both these guys work really hard. They're first in line. All that stuff matters. And, you saw the energy when he came in of his teammates. And but that goes away. And you saw that this week.
Yes.
Then it comes down to play. And even though he didn't play terribly, he wasn't impactful. And just like everybody's like, well, the wind and the throw to Judy. Yeah, the wind was the problem with the throw to Judy. But the problem with the throw to Judy is that it should be on the dig route at about 8 yards. Now, he was about 2 seconds late. So I think, that would be your evaluation. But you have to make, that's a great question because I don't know what they do because of the supporting cast. If they feel that they can, then you can go out and you get a Lemon out of USC. Obviously you and I will probably talk about those, but I got lots of guys at tackle and lots of guys at receiver that could really make this football team better, I think. So we'll see what happens moving forward. I think he's got to control himself regardless of what the stats are, regardless of what the numbers are, wins and losses. He's got to be impactful and make those impactful plays when they're presented to him.
Yeah, and the Browns are going to need at least 3 new offensive linemen.
Correct. Yeah, and the thing about, like KT Leviston, he's been really, really bad this year. But I tell you what, I watch every film about 4 to 5 to 8 times, between 4 and 8 times. And that kid, the things they're asking him to do that he can do, he does very well. That's a kid who plays with tremendous heart and effort. He's not great in pass protection yet, but he's a work in progress. So that's like those kind of guys. Is that a guy you can count on? I'm not sure yet. But those are the kind of guys like there's plays he made in the run game last week that were just super impressive. KT Leviston can't pass protect now, right now. Now he's a great athlete, so that tells you he can, just like with Shedeur. Maybe he can do it because of his athleticism. He's losing with technique just because he's a raw athlete. So we shall see, but they need offensive linemen. They need skill guys. And more importantly, skill guys, they got to have guys that get easy yards. Those get out of jail free guys. They don't have any of those guys.
No, you're absolutely right. Going to be an interesting one against the Titans. Could be part of what decides the top of the draft, standing wise, and all that good stuff. But Lance, always a pleasure, my friend, breaking that down. Tell people where they can hear you, find you, see you.
Well, I'm always I'm on social media. I'm on X and I'm on Instagram. It's just at Lance Reisland, LanceReisland. And if you're listening to a Browns pregame show, I'm on 92.3 from 10 to 1 with Jonathan Peterlin. Like I said, on 92.3 The Fan. It's a great time. Jonathan runs the show, and I kind of chime in with some football, hopefully some football analysis that helps people understand the game a little bit better.
Yeah, we'll love listening to you on 92.3 The Fan and the work on Cleveland.com and on all the socials. Good stuff, buddy. Let's do it again soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys.
All right. There he goes. Lance Reisland. I love breaking down film with Lance. Love it. Love it. Because you're able to see those, like that great throw to Isaiah Bond. We all get caught up with, oh, man, what a catch, what a throw. But why did it happen? Shedeur read, saw the defender coming, knew what was going to happen, sidestepped, and completed the pass. Right? That's positives. There's still positives with this team. The problem is, as he's learning on the fly, you can't overcome the terrible mistakes by special teams. Can't do it. Can't do it. 66-yard punt return, muffing 3 punts. Team, it's a case where, for me, they're not going to do it. They're going to let Kevin Stefanski ride out the year. Fine. I want to see Jim Schwartz as head coach. I think there's a chance for you to right the mistake that you made when Greg Williams was defensive coordinator, took over from Hugh. They had that nice finish to the year. And instead of making Greg Williams head coach, Freddie Kitchens OC, you made Freddie Kitchens the head coach, and things fell apart from there. And you rebooted again and all that. But we'll see what happens there. We got some fantasy football details to get to, people. It is the playoffs coming up. Let's go under the wire. All right, so we're going to take a look. I'm pulling up my notes here. We got, oh boy, we got some interesting factors to go through. Running back, Bam Knight, who I've been telling you about for a while, 16 plus fantasy points, depending, still getting the majority of the carries. Doesn't look like Trey Benson's coming out off the IR yet. Keep an eye out for that. Chris Rodriguez Jr., quietly for the Commanders, has touchdowns in 3 of his last 4. 11 touches against the Broncos, and looks to be the lead guy. I'm not saying we're super excited about it. Like, I'd rather Bam Knight, but Chris Rodriguez is owning 24% of leagues. Bam Knight's just under the 50% mark. Those are guys right now that you can go get, right? You can go get those guys. And as the playoffs are going, even if you don't necessarily need a running back specifically, add depth. Get them so your league mates can't, right? Get them so your league mates cannot get them. And as we go week 14, I believe this is the last week of buys. Yes. So remember, we got the Patriots off, missing Drake May, Giants missing Jackson Dart, 49ers, and Panthers, who somehow are 7-6. Shows what a good head coach can do. So if we're looking at quarterbacks, CJ Stroud back from concussion wasn't impressive. Does another week help? Maybe. I would actually, shockingly, prefer Tyrod Taylor. Tyrod Taylor, taken over from Justin Fields, assuming that stays the same, has looked impressive, has been pushing the ball downfield. And something else I didn't think I'd say, both are owned well under 50%. Adonai Mitchell, the guy from the Colts that I really like coming out of the draft, big-bodied guy, never really got on track in Indy, got dealt to the Jets. Huge game. And we saw targets. 12 targets last game, 7 catches, touchdown, big game. Okay, that can flash. What stood out to me, though, is it's the second game with big number targets. He had the previous matchup, 7 targets, just 2 catches, but he was targeted 7 times. That shows there's a trend. Comfortability. Can we expect 7 catches, 12 targets, 100-something yards, and touchdown each game? No, but it shows there is a comfortability. That's somebody, if you need bye week help, you go pick up an Adonai Mitchell. Isaac Tesla, somebody I touted way back in the pre-draft process, finally maybe having his chance in the sun with Amon-Ra St. Brown out. Looks like he's going to be, it's not as serious as they thought, but was injured early in the game. Caught another touchdown. He's being seen in the end zone, played 92% of the snaps in that game. Tesla becomes a big-time ad playing the Cowboys, and their pass defense is iffy. So track that, but might be finally Isaac Tesla time. I drafted him long ago. I might try to pick him up again. George Kittle's out for the 49ers because they're on the bye. Little Britton Strange. Want some Strange, kids? Huh? Britton Strange. Brian Thomas Jr., decline. Jacoby Myers, money, but he's probably not there. Britton Strange, 93 yards back in week 12, 45 yards and a touchdown against Tennessee on Sunday. This is somebody, again, showing plus opportunity in an offense for a Jags team that's trying to play to win the division. Evan Ingram a bit under him as far as tight end. I'd prefer Strange first and then Ingram. Marcus Mariota, like I've been telling you for a few weeks, right? He's got the legs moving a little bit. Assuming Jane Daniels from that nasty elbow injury, that's another quarterback option that you can go get. For the Browns, we talk Harold Fannin Jr., PPR only. Touches, can he get to the end zone? It's a bad Tennessee team. This could be a nice opportunity. Harold Fannin Jr., really good ad, I believe, this week. And you want to be monitoring as well. Injuries, Justin Herbert, broken bones in his left hand. Aaron Rodgers, I don't know if you're playing Aaron Rodgers anyway, but Aaron Jones, shoulder injury. Could it be Jordan Mason time again in Minnesota? Right? Opportunity. Parker Washington, who we love, he got banged up, hip injury. So that could be opportunity for other people in Jacksonville. And Tyrone Tracy was injured on Monday night also. So some injuries you'll want to keep an eye on. Again, Patriots, Giants, 49ers, Panthers on bye. You got any fantasy football questions? Hit me up on social at AndyMC81, at SickPodBrowns. That's on X, on Instagram and TikTok at AndyMC Sports. Use hashtag AskAndy. And remember, this Sunday, live 10 a.m. Eastern, we got a crossover episode with our Sick Podcast Tennessee Titans show. We're going to be merging, worlds colliding, as the Browns take on one of the very few teams with a worse record than they do, the Tennessee Titans. Battle for the top of the draft. That's going to be 10 a.m. Eastern. We'll tee up that game. Fantasy football sits. Again, you jump in the chat live. We deal with your questions on the spot. Injuries happening, updates, we get to it right there. Also, we have the parlay party and build the ultimate NFL betting ticket. So that is going to be Sunday, 10 a.m. Eastern. Make sure to follow the channel, subscribe. Thank you so much to Coach Lance Reisland from Cleveland.com and 92.3 The Fan. For producer Shane, I'm Andy McNamara. We'll see you Sunday. Until then, go Browns.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.